Welcome back. US President Donald Trump welcomed Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif to the White House, highlighting the recent warming of ties between Washington and the South Asian nuclear-armed nation. Ahead of the meeting, Trump praised both leaders as great leaders, and the Oval Office session closed to the press marked Sharif's first meeting with the US President. Shehbaz Munir held a 90-minute meeting that was also attended by Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, even as reports suggest that the Pakistani dignitaries were made to wait for almost an hour before the meeting took place. For Pakistan, it was also historic. No Prime Minister has entered the Oval Office since Imran Khan's visit in July 2019. The meeting focused on bilateral ties, regional and international issues, including Afghanistan, counterterrorism, cooperation and trade opportunities. On the other hand, this was the second meeting of Asim Munir and Donald Trump. A statement from Sharif's office said that Sharif praised Trump as a man of peace whose leadership helped avert a catastrophe by facilitating the May ceasefire with India, despite India's repeated denials. Interestingly, even as the Pakistani government and state media has greatly extrapolated on the meeting and the alleged points discussed, there have been no, in fact, readouts or pictures forthcoming from the White House itself. As Pakistan continues its lobbying blitz, pushing for Trump's long-wished Nobel Peace Prize, what exactly is this latest US-Pak meet leading up to is the big question that we're going to try and address in the next 30 minutes. Major General Dhruv Katoch, Senior Defence Expert, Director of India Foundation, with us on the program. Mr. Surinder Singh Lali, Foreign Affairs Expert, also joins us on the program. Mr. Gautam Mukherjee, Senior Journalist, with us on the program as well. And Joy Tabasu, Editor of the Sunday Guardian, with us on the show as well. General Katoch, I'll begin with you. Well, for Pakistan, it's a great event. They were able to sit with Donald Trump for 90 minutes, discuss this and that, which I'm sure Donald Trump does, a dozen times in a day. He also made both of these wait for almost an hour before this meeting began. Very, non-customary for a prime minister or a president or a defense, leader for any country to wait for another one. What do you make of this new bonhomie between Pakistan and the United States, considering what Donald Trump is doing, or considering the fact that India and the Americans find themselves at odds at this stage? What is the relevance, if any, of this get-together?
Thank you, Vineet. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. Now, here, this meeting of Pakistani leaders and of the military chief with the US president, very frankly, I have never placed much relevance to it. The only reason the US president is meeting these people is he wants to extract certain concessions from them. That is all. It is a transaction which he hopes to achieve, or which he not just hopes to achieve. He would have directed them to do certain things, and they will follow those directions. Now, the American interest as of now lie in two issues. The primary issue remains Iran. How to how to neutralize Iran. If any military action is required in the future, or if anything else has to be done, they don't have any base which is nearby. Now Pakistan fills that bill. They can use their airspace, and if required, they can use their bases, which they have done even when the Israelis attacked Iran. That is point one. Number two is they have some interest in Afghanistan, and they want to get back at the Bagram air base. Now, I'm not sure how that is going to work out, because the Pakistanis don't have influence in Afghanistan, and the Taliban will never compromise on that core issue. If the Taliban actually gives the Bagram air base back to the United States, they will lose all credibility. So that is not going to happen. Now, having said this, Trump being transactional, he will give them something. And I think that something is the only thing which is of concern to India as to what exactly will be the trade-off. And that trade-off, in my view, is likely to be military equipment only. Now, here, Pakistan is going to be caught in a dilemma. It is very heavily dependent on Chinese resources as far as its military supplies is concerned. Now, it's getting into bed with America on the same issue. I think they're going to have a very difficult time. But let's see as to how this plays out. Perhaps financial assistance, the World Bank and the IMF may lend more money to them. I don't see Pakistan getting into the blacklist or the grey list of the FATF with this sort of a bonhomie. But beyond that, I really don't think it means too much to India. Um, I think if I was a Pakistani, I would actually feel insulted. The prime minister is being called, and then you put your army chief there also. Uh, Ultimately, what Trump is doing is telling the Pakistanis, I don't trust your prime minister to execute anything. It is the army which is to do it. So, in a sense, he has degraded the political authority by lifting the stature of the military. That's the way I look at it. But very frankly, as far as India is concerned, yeah, we should keep a watch on it. But I don't think we have to be we have to go overboard in thinking that something great is going to come about or it presents a very serious danger to India. Yeah, there will be certain things which will be happening. We just need to keep a watch on it. Vineet.
Absolutely right, sir. And Mr. Lali, what do you make of this situation? You know what this reminds me of, Mr. Lali? If you've ever been to a doctor's office and you've been asked to wait, there are a bunch of medical representatives who are waiting for the doctor to get free so that they can sell their product. That's exactly what Asim Munir and Shehbaz Sharif look like to me. Do you concur?
let me quote the Pakistanis. They say कि हमारे leader कशकोल लेके दुनिया में घूमते रहते हैं. So it's not me, even the Pakistanis. And there was a beautiful joke in a Pakistani play where he says that India can never isolate us, no matter how hard they try. They can never isolate us from the world because we owe money to just about everybody in the world. So we need Pakistan is a useful idiot that America definitely needs, and for various reasons. And West has always played these games, especially the United States, through CIA, think tanks, lobby groups, IMFs, they control different parts of the world. But Donald Trump has taken it to the next level. I mean, in his first presidency, he was on record saying that Pakistan has given us nothing else but deceit, and they've fooled us and they've fleeced us. And I think it costed the U.S. taxpayer $32 billion. And guess what? Osama bin Laden was found right in the heart of Pakistan. So Vineet, Donald Trump is an extremely mercurial transactional individual, and for him, if you've heard his UN speech, he's totally redefining diplomacy. It's nothing else but, that speech is more like a stand-up comedy show. And he needs Pakistan for various reasons. Number one is for his own business. It is alleged that he's made over 500 million in the crypto, deal that he's done with this company called World Liberty Financial. And then we let's give it to Pakistan for the location. I mean, we are here, which America is really trying to control because they don't like allies. They like allies and they don't want a strategic partner. Afghanistan, as General Saab said, that they're trying to get back, but that's also $1 billion question because Taliban has said nothing doing. China, Pakistan can be very useful. And then the Sea Routes, the Strait of Hormuz, Iran. So Pakistan is a great nuisance value, and Donald Trump, the mercantilist that he is going to use, and he is using Pakistan. And for Pakistanis, with all humility, I don't think the word humiliation is a part of their dictionary because that's what they've been doing for the last 77 years with over 25 trips to IMF. So this is all America out in the open, playing the games which earlier dispensations were more diplomatic and politically correct about it. But Donald Trump has totally blown the lid off in it.
In the studio at this point in time. Chaitha, first of all, it's pretty objectionable when you look at the normal customs when it comes to diplomacy and, world leaders getting together. There is something known as protocol. You don't always tag along your army chief to all of these meetings. In fact, he's been going +1 for the past number of such global meets. It's embarrassing for Shehbaz Sharif as well. Perhaps not that much for Asim Munir because he knows he's running Pakistan. But why aren't the Americans getting it? Why isn't the world community getting that these two showing up together is not out of love for each other? They're not a couple. They're basically in a complicated situation, in a complicated marriage, which makes Pakistan that more dangerous.
Well, the fact of the matter is that first of all we have to realize you decide the character of a person or a man by the company he keeps. It is basically the company, and this applies to all of them. It applies to.
They used to hang out with Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, the thing is, you see, that is what when it comes to Mr. Trump, I mean, it shows what he is by the company he keeps. In this case, that General Asim Munir, who is a dictator, who is basically the power behind the throne, who is unelected. But why are we surprised that Shehbaz Sharif, who is basically nothing more than an office boy in this case, Asim Munir's office boy. So, these are the people, it's but natural they will be, I mean, they have to cling on to each other. Asim Munir to gain some sort of legitimacy, because he has been very, very badly criticized or rather Trump, both of them in fact, Asim Munir and Trump, for meeting an army chief. So, this time he is trying to give some sort of legitimacy to the visit by bringing in the quote unquote, he is not a democratically elected leader, Shehbaz Sharif is not, he has been imposed there by the army anyway. So, if you ask me, and the very fact that Trump is allowing it, he is joining hands with these people, it shows what he is. You see, and don't think that the world is not realizing it. If you go and scan reactions and all, people are appalled. It's a different matter. I mean, there is no one to say anything to Trump, even his own party has gone totally silent. That is because everybody, because you see, he got a brute majority, he got a quote unquote mandate in the last election. So, everybody is worried that you never know if he has the capability to and the capacity to repeat that kind of support that he got from the people, and that is what is actually preventing everybody to stand up against stand up to Trump, and that is why he is getting away with all sorts of nonsense. And this is also, whatever is going on, this is also part of that nonsense, and in this case primarily because of personal gains of the because of the crypto deal that he has signed with Pakistan, and which directly benefits his family and family members and his immediate circle. You know, Steve Witkoff's son, his Middle East envoy's son, Zach Witkoff, and so it is because of that. I mean, this is so galling. This is so galling that, you know, it's unbelievable that a president of the United States will be so upfront and will be so shameless and so brazen about what he is when it comes to mixing up personal gains and the interests of that country. This is a classic example of that. And if you ask me, that it's also, this is also applies, the same principle also applies to these Pakistanis. So, as a result of which, Mr. Trump does not see any conflict of interest in hosting an army chief and his lackey, his sidekick, if I can use that word, a prime minister. So, you see, this is all above board for him, because it's his personal interest, he is serving his personal interest.
All right, Gautam, how do you look at this? In fact, Donald Trump was also heavily criticized for his speech at the UNGA. He spoke about everything but the issues at hand. He spoke, you know, about the elevator he was stuck in. He spoke about, you know, private jets, which had nothing to do with issues that are plaguing the world at this point in time. What could this chat between Shehbaz Sharif, Asim Munir and Donald Trump be all about? It's very hard to wrap your brains around what these three may be talking about, because so far whatever has come out of this conjunction has been nothing but lies, including that ceasefire claim.
Well, I think Trump is making sure of a convenient base in the region. Afghanistan is being quite thorny when it comes to Bagram, though he did hint at that and was rebuffed. Now, if you have a willing country like Pakistan, which you can control with small potatoes, and at the same time you can exert pressure on China, which up to now thought of Pakistan as its lackey, almost an exclusive lackey, ironclad relationship. Then you've got Iran, then you've got Afghanistan, and of course you have India. Now, in all of this, by a strong or on-demand American presence in Pakistan, including location of nuclear arms there, it is very convenient. Plus, you have the business of Trump's crypto business interests with this duo that he has the prime minister and the army chief with him, and for the third time now, more or less. I forget which is which, but certainly a Pakistani presence, first with the army chief, then I think this is the first time he's meeting alongside the prime minister because he's come to the UNGA. What it does is acknowledge clearly, and it's obvious to the whole world, that look, sometimes you pretend to share power, sometimes you pretend to say that the civil authority sanctions what goes on in the army. So let's have the pair of you in front of me so that there's no misunderstanding and you don't get a chance to play one off against the other when you leave the room and when you go back to Islamabad. So this is a fairly tricky situation. But then look at Trump. He's not getting much change out of Israel even. Certainly none out of the Europeans with regard to Ukraine. None whatsoever to speak of from Putin. He's, not been able to bully India. So it's nice to have these two at his feet. He makes them wait, he sends them out when he wants, and they will do his bidding. China doesn't like it, and that is advantage India. So it's an interesting sort of neighborhood we live in these days. We'll see what emerges out of it, but I think India can probably play the difference with China and do quite well, particularly because it's diversifying. For example, the shrimps which were going to America are now going to China. That's rather nice and possibly unexpected, but China's happy to buy the shrimp. And there will be a lot of moves of this order. Whether the Europeans will sign the FTA with us shortly remains to be seen, but I think they are certainly cautiously wanting to fish in these waters. They find that China may not object, and they need China very much, if not more.
Right. Okay, I see your point, Gautam. I see your point. Let me also rope in General Katoch once again into this conversation. General Katoch, it'll be interesting to learn rather your perspective on what has really changed for Donald Trump when it comes to Pakistan. If you remember his first innings as the president of America, he was staunchly against even the idea of Pakistan. He was the one who stopped that funding. He was the one who in fact relegated all those lobbyists who are working for Pakistan. But this time it seems that Pakistan is his best friend. What do you think has changed over this course, sir?
Very frankly, Vineet, I don't think Pakistan is the major concern as far as the United States is concerned. Just prior to this, you had said, you were wondering what they were discussing between Trump and Shehbaz Sharif and their chief. It wasn't a discussion. It would have been a monologue. President Trump would have spoken, they would have listened and nodded their heads. That would be the extent of the conversation. Now, I think American concerns are changing. That is the whole game. And one of the American concerns is the growth of India. Now, I have always, I maintain, this is my analysis, nobody, I mean, people want India to be reasonably okay, but not very strong. That goes for Europe, that goes for the United States and for China. But India is growing. We are growing militarily, we are growing economically, and our growth poses an economic threat to the others. We are going to be strong competitors. And now we have a political establishment which doesn't listen to them. So when President Trump says something, we say, okay, we'll think about it, but we'll do whatever we have to do. So we bought the Russian oil and they couldn't do anything about it. Now, I think those are the concerns which Trump has got, that, okay, how do I sort of, how do I pressurize India in a particular manner? Now, one of the tools which he can use is Pakistan. Now, China has been using Pakistan as that tool for a very long time. I think Trump is going to try that. Not that it's going to work, but the question is he is going to try that. That is one. The second thing which I think, when we are looking at American interests, America is not getting its way in many ways. It is becoming a multipolar world now. And that is something which I don't think they have really come to grips with. There is a very strong pole as far as China is concerned. The Russians, they are on an independent axis. And despite Trump and despite the European Union and despite NATO, the Russians are doing what they want to do. And now we have a third person coming in, India, which is not listening. The European Union, okay, they are still listening to Trump, and Japan still listens to them. That's about it. But beyond that, I don't think people are listening to him anymore. And I think that is really rallying him up. India has become very pivotal. In this entire game, India has become very pivotal, because if India breaks out, I think the multipolar world is a reality. It is going to come about. It is simply a question of timing. And I think it is this change which President Trump is trying to address. I have a feeling, regardless of who the American president is, they would have done the same thing. America is not really worried whether it is Trump. I mean, the same thing could have been done by any other president. And I have a feeling that regardless of whoever the American president is, they will behave in a similar manner. They may be less, the optics may be different. That's about it all. But, or they may be more polite or more diplomatic, but the thrust and tenor will be the same. And Pakistan is willing to be bought by whomsoever wishes to buy them. They are quite happy, whether it's the Chinese or the Americans or anybody else. They are prepared. They are in a bad situation, but they will get out of it. They're a master in this art, and I think that's the way it is. Ultimately, Vineet, I think we simply have to deal with the situation as it comes, and I think our present establishment is dealing with it remarkably well. Vineet.
All right, Joyita, coming to you, same question: Is Pakistan, and the American interest now aligned, or do you think that this is just one of those bubbles that Donald Trump has floated, and it is going to, have a very unceremonious crash?
Well, it's definitely one of the bubbles that I would say Donald Trump has floated. But at the same time, let's not forget that Pakistan has, because of its locational quote unquote advantage, if I can use that word, the Americans have always considered Pakistan to be a strategic partner. But at the same time, I think the main difference here is that I'm again going to repeat it, that Donald Trump has brought in his personal interest into the game, and nobody has, been so brazen and blatant about, punishing India, which according to Joe Biden is one of the US's most consequential partners, strategic partners of the 21st century. From that to, basically start attacking India and start behaving India like an enemy nation, this is something I don't think till date any other president has achieved to do it. Even Bill Clinton, yes, there were sanctions and all that he had given at that time, but gradually even he kind of started turning around about India. But I think this is perhaps the lowest point when it comes to India-US relations, and this is all thanks to President Trump's personality. And this is a problem that a highly petulant, immature, mercurial leader like Trump, when he brings his personality to geopolitics, this is what happens.
This is what happens. That's a big statement. All right, we've run out of time. Appreciate everybody who joined us. Thank you so much. So breaking news coming in. Well, a major disturbance broke out in Uttar Pradesh's Bareilly following Friday prayers amidst the Isle of Muhammad campaign. Supporters of Maulana Taqi Raza gathered to submit a memorandum when the crowd suddenly turned violent. In response, the police resorted to a cane charge to disperse the unruly mob. To maintain law and order, 12 companies of the RAF and the RRF have been deployed in the area, is what we are learning. All right, well, this seems to be the latest visual coming in, and we can see that the cops are, in fact, there's a lathi charge going on at this point in time. This was the Isle of Muhammad campaign. Joyita Basu, editor of the Sunday Guardian, still with us. Joyita, what do you make of what's happening here?
Well, first of all, you see, law and order cannot be taken in hand by anybody, whichever group that is, whether be Hindus or Muslims and all, and the government has every right to crack down on them. And you see, this is a classic case of trying to polarize the situation, trying to one particular community because they feel disempowered, because it is not, they don't see at the current government in UP as being their government. This is some kind of a muscle flexing that is going on, trying to assert their authority. So, but no government, again I am going to say, no community, no caste, nothing. It happens with caste groups also, can be allowed to do this. So, the government has to crack down on them, and that is what they are doing.
All right, okay, we've run out of time. Appreciate Joyita, you weighing in on this. We're going to take a short break on that note. We'll be right back.